It is now October the 2nd and I have finished my first book of the month, which turned out to be quite a fantastic read, and that is Perfume River by Robert Olen Butler. I have never read anything by this man before, so I was surprised when I started reading this novel because I realized that he writes beautifully and he writes about everyday life in a fascinating way. This one deals with Robert, the main character, who in the beginning of the book is dining with his wife in a cafeteria, and then a homeless man enters this cafeteria. It's a story about guilt, family relations and loss, and it is just a great story. I was a huge fan and I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. I'm definitely going to check out more by Robert Olen Butler because this was quite fascinating. So since I last spoke to you, I have finished 2 more books, and people have been asking me how it is that I sometimes finish 2 books on the same day, and that's because I sometimes read books simultaneously. Coraline by Neil Gaiman. I was doing some research for a scary reads video that I would like to do, and then I came across this children's novel which I read some years ago and loved. I was so creeped out by this horror story, you could say it is, because it's basically about a little girl who suddenly finds herself in the other world, in which people have black buttons for eyes and sharper teeth, and they claim to be her mother, etc. It's very creepy. I wanted to read it again now and see if I was still creeped out, and I was, but not as much. And I also felt like parts of the story were dragging a little bit, so I ended up giving this otherwise fantastic novel 3 out of 5 stars. And then the other novel I have read is this one, Homegoing by Gyasi. This one deals with slavery and it takes place over several hundreds of years. So we get to meet a new character in each and every single chapter, which I think is both a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is that it made you realize how long this slavery has been going on and how many people's lives it has affected. But the bad thing is that, to me personally, I felt like I couldn't connect with any of the characters. I started reading about them and caring for them, and then we moved on to the next character. And even though all of their lives intertwine, I still felt like the book kind of took my breath away in a bad way. But I will say that I still really love this novel. It wraps up beautifully, it deals with a hugely important topic, and I like how it educated me on slavery and in general people's lives and how they have been affected. So in the end I gave this novel 4 out of 5 stars. I'm all wet because I just went outside. Autumn has started and it is pouring down outside. But I had to go outside because I needed to fetch some books that were waiting for me. And well, let me tell you, October is my birthday month and I have used that as an excuse to buy me some books, which I do every month. But this time I used my birthday as an excuse. So basically, I got 4 books. The first one being a horror thriller kind of story. More accurately, it's a selection of short stories. This is The Illustrated Man by Ray Bradbury. They didn't have Fahrenheit 451, so I decided to go with this one instead, which seems very appropriate for this time of the year. And then the next 3 books I got are all hardbacks and they are so beautiful. First one being The Lesser Bohemians by Ymir McBride. A non-fiction book, The Lonely City by Olivia Lang. And then the last beautiful book I got for myself is this one, All We Shall Know by Donald Ryan. So yes, I'm very eager to dive my nose into these books during the upcoming weeks. I have now finished 2 more books that I would like to talk about, and that is first of all The Blind Assassin by Margaret Atwood. I love Margaret Atwood, and this is no exception. This one deals with 2 sisters and they're growing up, but it's a mysterious thriller, so there is more to the story than what you can hear. It's cleverly written and it's beautifully written, and I just basically really like this 600-page book, which actually flew by very quickly. So I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. And then the other novel I think I loved even more, and I'm saying novel, but basically it's a short story compilation, and that is The Dull Master and Other Tales of Terror by Joyce Oates. Now obviously I picked up this one because we are in October and this one would be perfect for this time of the year. It is so creepy what Joyce Oates can come up with. It contains 6 short stories which all revolve around some kind of terror, and they're really good. There are unexpected twists to them, which I really admired. So I was so blown away by this collection and I gave it 5 stars, and I'm so eager to read more from Joyce Oates. I actually already ordered 3 books, which you might see later in this video. It is now October the 15th. Late last night I finished a non-fiction book which turned out to be really good, and that is The Lonely City: Adventures in the Art of Being Alone by Olivia Lang. This book was so fascinating simply because, well, it's been a long time since I last read a non-fiction book, but the topic of this one was just really interesting. Olivia Lang has lived in New York for a certain amount of time, and she has written about feeling lonely amongst a lot of people. She also explores other people's works on being lonely, and that is when things got interesting. For instance, she explores Andy Warhol and his fascination with loneliness, which I didn't know he had, so that was really interesting to read about. But she also explores some people that I didn't know, and I completely agreed with what she found out, and it was just a really good read. My eyes have been opened for Olivia Lang and her books, so she's another author that I would like to explore further, but this one for now I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I have an update on this book which I started reading 10 minutes ago, and I think this is going to be my quickest giving up of a book, because this book is written in very poetic language, which some people like, but I strongly dislike it. I can't get through books that do have a beautiful story, but that is very hard to get to because of the language. And that is the case with this one. I have read the first couple of pages, I skimmed ahead and saw that the rest of the book is written like this, and I just couldn't take it. So it's such a shame, but I just wanted to let you know what was happening with this novel. And when I say poetic language, what I mean is this. Let me just try and read aloud the first sentences of this book. Low lay London, Liverpool Street. I'm getting to on the train. Legs fair jigged from halfway there. Dairy milk on this Stansted Express, and cannot care for stray sludge splinters in the face of England go by. To me, this doesn't really make sense. I do get where the author is going, but I'm not enjoying myself. So basically that is what I mean by poetical language. Take a look at my new poster. I live by this mantra. I have here in my hands The Illustrated Man by Ray Bradbury, which I came across when I was searching for horror literature online, and this one was supposedly a horror story, or stories, because it is a short story compilation. I was mildly disappointed because it wasn't the kind of horror I was looking for. Basically, this one was written in the 1940s, 50s, I believe, and it deals with what will happen to the world and what will happen to people. And Ray Bradbury's prospects are not that positive. He basically believes that everyone is going to kill each other. We're going to burn all books, and basically it's just going to be a horrible world in the year of 2121, for instance. So I didn't really like that about it. As I said, this is a short story compilation, and I did like some of the stories more than others. In the end, I was mildly curious as to his predictions, but I was also a little bit depressed to read that he believed that this was going to happen. So I ended up giving this compilation 3 out of 5 stars. Zeus, what are you doing here? What are you doing? I'm having one of those bad mornings where a lot of things seem to be going wrong. So I'm not in the best mood right now, but I will tell you about the next book that I finished, which is this one, Ladder of Years by Anne Tyler. Now, I love Anne Tyler's story, and this one was no exception. She has a way of writing about family and everyday life in a beautiful, beautiful way. However, this one I found some faults with. It was still a good story, but I felt like it was a bit too long, and the story in itself, which is basically about a 40-year-old woman who all of a sudden decides to leave her family while they are on the beach. It's not something she has planned, it's just something that she does out of a sudden. I found that quite unbelievable at some point, so while I did enjoy this book, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I mentioned earlier in this video that I had ordered some books by Joyce Oates, which have now arrived, and of course I want to show them to you. Here we have the box, as well as my cat who loves boxes. Let's see what's inside. Yeah, it's very exciting. So I'm so excited for these books. Wow, I already see a beauty right here. Okay, so this is the short story collection of hers that I have heard immensely great things about. So it's called High Lonesome, New and Selected Stories, and it's quite a big book, but I love it because this is one of those books that you can read a story from now and then put it back down. So this is not empty yet. Okay, so we have the receipt. Now this book is really interesting. This is a novel, and supposedly it's based on Norma Jean's life. So it's a fictional piece of work, but it's based on Marilyn Monroe, and it's written from her point of view from she was a child till she became the icon that she is today. So this is another one of those very huge books which will be perfect for this time of the year. I really can't wait to read this one, as well as the other one. And then the last book is the one I'm going to start with first, because I've been told that this is the best place to start if you want to get into Joyce Carol Oates. So this is The Grave Digger's Daughter, another novel, and I don't know too much about it, but I will find out eventually. Today is October the 22nd, and it is my birthday. So from today I am I'm 29 years old. Thank God I'm not 90 yet. So I have here in front of me some book packages which I have been saving for today. I do realize that I have already bought so many books for myself this month, but these will be the last bunch for this month at least. So here is the first book. This is A Closed and Common Orbit by Becky Chambers. That book is a companion novel to a novel that I read last year and absolutely loved. And that is this one, The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. I'm sure you've heard of it because it has been quite hyped everywhere. It is a very popular novel, and as I said, I loved it. So now I have the sequel. The only thing is that I see that, well, it's a little bit bigger than the other one. Not that it matters, but it's like double the size of the other paperback, which I'm okay with, but you know what it is like when you collect books. You would like for your series to fit together. Anyway, this is the first book I got. I believe there are 6 paperbacks in this one. To the River by Olivia Lang, an author whom I really want to read more by, so this is going to be my next read by her. It is non-fiction, just to let you know. And then the rest of the books in this package are going to be by Anne Tyler. Here we have Digging to America, The Beginner's Goodbye, as well as Back When We Were Grown-Ups. Here we have The Amateur Marriage. I love this cover, so that's good. And then the last book in this bunch is Searching for Caleb. Wow, they look really pretty, all those colors. Here you have my birthday table. My family will be arriving in about 2 hours, and before that happens, I would like to buy some flowers for this table, so I will go do that right now. I've now finished the first of the Joyce Oates books that I bought this month, and that is The Gravedigger's Daughter, which, as I mentioned earlier in this video, you are supposed to start out with if you really want to get into her work. And I quite loved this novel. I will say that I gave it 4 out of 5 stars because while I loved it, I did find some missing resolutions with it. There were some characters in it that I didn't feel were explained enough what was happening to them. But other than that, this is the story of Rebecca, whose family moves to America just before World War II. And it's kind of a coming of age story. It's about her life, and her father was a gravedigger and he was a monster, and he has deeply affected her throughout her life. This is in many ways a book about how you sometimes repeat patterns in your life which might be destructive to you, but you just can't help it. And it's about struggles and finding your way in life, basically. So all in all, as I said, I really love this book and I do recommend it. I did not sleep very much last night and I have to go to work in about 10 minutes. So anyway, I want to tell you about another book that I finished last night, which came out in Denmark here in October, and that is If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Russo. This one is about a transgender girl, Amanda Hardy, yes, who starts in high school in this new town because she has left behind her old life because of bad things that happened to her, which is very tragic and which is very real. So that's why I think this is a very important topic. And it was refreshing to see a young adult book written about a transgender girl. Now, I did think throughout most of this book that our main character was about maybe 15 or 16 years old, but it turns out she was 18, and I didn't really think that corresponded to her behavior and the behavior of her friends. So that was a bit of a letdown, and all in all, while I do think this is a very important book, it didn't wow me, so I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. I didn't finish any more books in October, but I am currently reading 2 books which you will then see my review of in my November reading vlog, and that is High Lonesome by Joyce Oates, which is a short story collection, as well as finally The Muse by Jessie Burton. So look forward to my review of these books in my next reading vlog. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy reading.